back now to our top story, and that's the turmoil on the world's stock markets. I'm joined in the studio by an economist, Rémi Bourgeot. Hello, thank you very much for being here. So what's your take on what's happening today? I mean, it's one of the wildest days globally on stock markets, isn't it?
Well, there was already the impact of the coronavirus on oil demand over the past few weeks, and there's one really new element now, which is a shock in terms of production as a result of this dispute between Saudi Arabia and Russia on the other side. So it's quite unexpected. Saudi Arabia wanted to implement a production cut by about 1.5 million barrels per day, and Russia was quite reluctant already because they saw that as a way to enable the US to gain more market share in the oil business worldwide. But the reaction of the Saudis is really quite unexpected and blunt, as they announced that they would not only slash prices but raise production above the 10 million barrels per day level. So that's really quite amazing at this point, and it really explains this collapse in oil prices from already depressed levels.
Now, if you're a spectator watching right now who is wondering why they should be concerned about this, I mean, what would you say to people generally when stock markets go down like this? What does it mean for the average person?
Well, the problem is really the impact on the economy, and that's the case also for the collapse in oil prices, because it will have severe consequences for oil producers in the US, which have much higher costs than conventional producers in Saudi Arabia or even in Russia, and those companies have very high levels of debt, so that can really increase financial instability, creating a deeper financial crisis, a banking crisis at some point. This is really of actual real concern. Of course, those financial figures, market figures, are quite abstract in some sense. You see billions and billions being wiped out in just a matter of a few minutes or a few days on global markets. The problem is this really has economic consequences, and finally has really an impact on people's everyday lives, and as does the coronavirus. But we should be extremely careful really on the consequences of all the measures that are being implemented, and also weigh the economic, the social, and in the end the human impact of all those measures.
Could this, though, be good news for the airline industry? Because it, of course, has taken a massive hit with the coronavirus and all these travel restrictions and people cancelling their trips left, right and centre.
Well, there are some direct consequences that can be positive on the short term for companies that consume a lot of oil, also for importing countries more generally. But then there are other effects that are more indirect in terms of financial instability. And for example, in emerging markets, you often see countries that are large importers that finally hit also that collapse in oil prices, quite surprisingly. So despite those positive effects for importers, consumers, this level of collapse in oil prices is really a concern generally for the world economy.
And this start potentially of a price war. What do you make of that between Saudi Arabia and Russia? How do you see that going forward?
Well, that's really what's going on at the moment, and it's about who is going to blink first between Saudi Arabia and Russia. They are in different situations. It's bad for both of them economically. They don't have really a strong economy, neither Russia nor Saudi Arabia at the moment, and they're highly dependent, of course, on the oil industry. They have rather conservative fiscal positions, so it's not too bad really in the short term for state finances, but it's bad economically. And I mean, also on the monetary front, they have really different situations. Russia having flexible exchange rates that can introduce a little more flexibility. Saudi Arabia is stuck with this peg with the dollar. So they are in different situations, but they are both quite facing weaknesses at this time. So they can't really afford to go on indefinitely with this price war, which is also an ego war between Vladimir Putin and Mohammed bin Salman. And of course, the US also is involved in that, because the first step by the OPEC was aimed also at satisfying some US demands that to support the market and keep US producers somehow profitable, because also there's kind of a bubble going on there. So there's really this complex geopolitical game going on.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time and your analysis. Rémi Bourgeot, thank you.